listeners, today it's Cam and Cam's Excellent Adventures.
Cam.
Again. We were going to do
Cam.
ghost stories, but we didn't do any ghost stories. Sorry, listeners. We end up doing actually, before we tell them,
Let's show them.
because it was really good. First of all, this episode is brought to you by alltradescover.com.au.
I love All Trades Cover.
Oh, it's great. If you're a trade business, big or small, hit them up. They'll send back a quote, and I'm sure they're going to be competitive with their quote to you.
Is it all trades they cover?
It's all
if
trades.
If I'm a big bricklayer, will they cover me?
I'm assuming so, and legally I can't say.
If I'm a roof carpenter, can they cover me?
Yeah, probably.
If I'm a bus driver kisser, will they cover me? That's not really a trade. They shouldn't.
If it's a trade, they'll cover you.
Hell, all cover.
I'll cover. So hit them up and then give them a shout out from the hard yarn so they know that it's working, and it seems to be they're getting a lot of clients. This episode's also brought to you by Kahuna Golf. Kahuna Golf, it's the golf attire that looks pretty sweet. It's a bit floral. You look good, feel good, play good. And for the first half of this episode was wearing their hoodie. Their hoodie is very good, but I also use it for running in, gym, all that.
And I know they're not allowed to say it, but like I can only just give you like colloquial evidence from my life. I wore the Kahuna hat once and got a hole in one, so I can only assume that.
No, you did not.
No,
Really?
I did not. But if but maybe if you give me one of those Kahuna hats, I might get a hole in one.
You can get one of those Kahuna hats. Hit them up. Kahuna Golf Co. I think it is. Look, the link's in our bio and it's in our show notes. But Hard Yarn's 15 for a 15% discount, and we're going to run a little. I'll get you to play.
Cool.
An invite only.
I won't wear my hat,
Kahuna
so I won't get a
Golf
hole in one.
corporate day. I want to do that.
Kahuna Golf is such a cool name for a brand too. Kahuna.
I love it, the big Kahuna. But this episode was a lot of fun. We ended up talking pretty deeply on a lot of topics. We went deep the 5 stages of the spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Which was, I think that was good. But I liked a couple of your things. What did we speak about early on?
Words. We talked about words.
Yeah, the concept of language.
Yeah, which was fun. We talked about politics, I guess.
Yes.
Opinions on things like just like misinformation.
Yeah, we talked about the UK riots with the with the immigrant stuff, divide and conquer, aliens real,
authenticity. We talked about things.
It was a good episode.
But please remember, we're not scientists.
Yeah, we're just comedians being authentic.
Authenticity.
And if you're authentic, that's powerful.
Yeah, you like me more now.
As we learned today. But, thanks so much for coming on, Cam. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And let's get hard.
Get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host.
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
I love how you just start from the out. So Norm Macdonald's special is like that. He does a joke about he does a Bill Cosby joke basically.
Yeah.
And it's all about because it was someone said it's the hypocrisy of it, and he goes, "Yeah, for me it was the rape." Can't believe that rapist was a hypocrite. Like that was his whole joke. But like he opens his special with that, but he just the recording starts after the laugh of that bit.
I love that.
So you don't even hear the joke or the setup. You just hear the audience reaction, and then he just starts talking about his bit. And he goes,
Really?
Yeah, that's the Hitler's Dog special. So if you watch that on Netflix, the joke that he's coming out of as it starts is it's the Cosby hypocrite joke. So it doesn't appear in the special, but it technically does. And that's what we're doing now. We're going to open the end of a dirty conversation. Like,
he was brazen. He was
Norm Macdonald's genius.
What's that? I've seen that one where he's on like The View or something like that, and he's like, Hillary, she killed all those guys.
People. She killed them all.
Like, isn't this well known?
And they're like, oh, Norm, behave yourself.
He's like, what?
It's so good. And I love that, like, leading up to that special, all of his appearances beforehand was him working on the material. So you watch his this is Norm Macdonald, you watch him, Jerry Seinfeld's comedians getting half the conversations they have on that bits in his thing. He was trying material
Wow.
on Jerry, and then also like all of his other things. It's just so fascinating to me. It's like he always, whenever there was an actual audience, he was just working on bits just to see what was funny.
Don't you reckon that's what Wolfie does?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes he's so well, like it's too well structured, his thought. And I'm like, I know you.
Wait a second.
You've done very well there.
You thought about this on the drive here, edited it, and then wait.
Yeah.
Genius.
How's things? We're back. I had 2 weeks off.
How good for you, hey?
Mate, 2 weeks.
Did you miss you, listeners? Like in the comments if you missed it. I don't know how this works.
Well,
Honk your car horns if you missed Frenchie.
I was only going to have the week off. Like the Dane Swan episode, head out, I think, the next day to Bali, have a little break,
What a
come
life.
back, and then come back and then get back into it like on the Tuesday. And I was like, nah, gonna have another week.
Hell yeah.
I feel really good for it.
Was that like a hard choice? Like as in you had to move things, or you can just do what you want? You're the king.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, it just felt like, finally. So it was so good over in Bali because with the B32 thing that I've had for all these years, I went from working for one person to working for multiple people when I did that. And so you're constantly working. So every trip I've been on since in the last 7 years, I've been working. Basically. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd have to do the posts, or I have to check comments, and because I did social media posting basically and media creation for a lot of clients, and now I don't have to do that. So
You're free.
like I woke up and I was like, let's go to breakfast. I was like, it feels weird that should be your normal holiday anyway, but it hasn't been for the last 7 years. So
This is your first real one.
I felt good.
Does it after? How long were you actually away for?
Not
on
long,
holiday?
5 days.
I was going to say, I feel like any longer than that, especially if you're not used to not working, you've got to be like, I need to film something.
Yeah. So
Get me a drone out there.
I find it hard, like watching Delby when he goes on holidays, because he's constantly like trying to make content and like vlogs and stuff. And to be fair, I probably did that when I first started my business. But when I go on holiday, I like to just like I do me videos and photos and stuff like that. But yeah, he's constantly like putting up polls and like trying to do comedy stuff. And
I love
taking
Delby
photos
to
of funny
death. He's
things.
so good at I love Delby to death, but I think he'd benefit from just paying someone to follow him and do that for him.
Yes.
Just record him doing cool on set, so then the quality is good. The amount of times it sent me saying, hey, is this funny?
Yeah.
And the audio's not good, and it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
you're a genius. I think Delby's fucking great.
Yeah.
So on stage he kills. It's like he should just pay for someone. This is how I'm telling him. I should message him this.
Oh,
Instead I'll tell it to him on his own podcast.
Well, we had this.
Just have someone follow him around.
Well, we had this chat because he sent me a video. He was like, I'm real happy with this one. And I was like, yeah, cool. It just doesn't translate. And
Yeah, because
like, they're
you
raps.
have to be live to see how cool it is that he's making it up as
Exactly.
he goes. And if, in the video, even if he's putting the context, you don't really... You have to be there. He sent me one. It was like the women and the pizza and stuff. And
Same thing, yeah.
It's such a fun... it's so... But it's like... I feel like you have to be live to see his...
That's exactly what I said to him. I was
And
like, it's a live thing. It's like you can't, no matter what you do, I can't see how you can translate that energy, that incredible performance that everyone loves into a video. It just looks bland. It looks boring. It doesn't work.
He might... So
Not
maybe that
boring,
is getting someone that's... Because he's already over in Edinburgh, he's like crushing it. He's doing like 9 shows back to back to back to back to
Yeah.
back. So it's like, just have... If he could just have someone else filming it and maybe they can work out a way to translate it.
I just don't know if it does. And that's not a bad thing because like maybe it's because we've seen it live and we know how good it is live, and then you watch a video, it's underwhelming compared to live.
Yeah, it's not the same, but if you've never seen it at all, it's still better than nothing. And
Yeah.
you still get to see that,
So,
hey, this
and
is
then,
dope.
and then you do go to see him live, and you're like, "Oh, this is better than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
was
yeah.
the way I end up saying.
And
maybe
it's also
that's the way
good that
you
it
look at
doesn't burn material, essentially. He's not showing them jokes.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is a once-off in the moment.
There
We're
is
never
something.
going to have this again.
But that's like comedy as well. Like it doesn't. If you were to show a Jim Jeffries, who was just here, a clip of him. If you're there in person, you're going to love it
It's
way
never-
more than it is. Filmed.
I hate recordings of stand. I don't know, that sounds so insane to me, but it's like, that's what I always think. Mitch Hedberg and Norm MacDonald, my two favorite of all time. We'll never get to see them live. And I think of how funny they are to me in recordings, and nothing's funny in a recording. But imagine being there live in that moment. You're in that club with 100 people. It's dark, and you're in this moment. It's like, oh, it just seems unreal.
Yeah.
What an unreal thing to experience. Like, and like, if you're not there live, so much things are lost, especially in comedy. So I feel
Yeah. What do you reckon optimal time and length of a show is?
like, if you're watching it, probably 40, 45. Honestly, I'm
I'm the same. I get like towards
Yeah.
the end, I'm like, okay, I'm
As
so
a
happy I get
consumer,
to.
as a consumer of comedy, I'm much different than.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't sit there and watch too much of it. I think it's very self-indulgent to sit there. Mitch Hedberg again had the great thing about it. Like you have to come up here and do an hour as a headliner. No one's ever watched a sitcom and been like, "Hey, I want 4 episodes of that one character." Like no, like that's a long time. That's like a sitcom is only like 18 minutes worth of content. You're doing 3 times that as one person of jokes. That's so. Who the fuck's sitting through that? I don't understand anyone who could sit through that.
It's like I every time I go to see a comedian with their 1 hour special, last 10 minutes I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
we must be getting close to wrapping up, hey?
100%.
And they're I'll go see my favourites.
Yeah.
Go see Jerry Seinfeld.
Mate, I saw Dave Chappelle when he did the 2 things back to back at the Perth Exhibition Centre. It was like 8 years ago or whatever. It was basically when I first started comedy.
Yeah.
And it was the second show, and he decided to just muck around smoking cigarettes and stuff, and he went late.
Yeah.
I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done now. You've been on stage for 2 hours, bro. Let me go.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Yeah, let me go. There
you
is
love
a
me,
happy
let
there
me
is a
go.
happy medium, I reckon. And if it's a variety show, potentially you can push it out with an intermission to like an hour and a half.
Yep.
But I reckon an hour and a half tops with an intermission.
Yeah,
That's
for
it.
sure.
So like, I think the Lounge do it right. Well, a variety of
That's not for the quality of the show.
no.
That's just so they can sell alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think having that little break helps
Yeah.
break it up, and it's just the right length.
Especially you can see the audiences come back refreshed. The best spot at all in any lineup is opening the second half. So they understand what the show is. They get the vibe. They've had a break. They've got a drink into them.
Yes.
They've reset. They've refocused. Let's fucking go. Because the
100%.
first time they're nice and focused when the show starts.
Yeah.
But they don't really know what to do yet. They haven't seen anything yet. They're not practiced. They're not really comparing. I don't know. Opening the second half, prime spot. It's proof that audiences need a break.
100%.
That's the best spot in the show.
Very good. But I do. I come back and I open up the room again, our comedy room, which I'm fucking stoked. It's really good now. The setup is fucking perfect. It's what I like.
Molto bene.
Molto bene. You
As
can have a
Delby
small
would say.
crowd or a big crowd. Like you can have your 20 people in there and just push them into the little slot, or you can sort of extend it out to 70 or 80 and it's good. So
Ooh.
I'm happy. So I think
Fancy
September
pants.
12th is already sold out. But September 5th, we're going to run a night there. So we'll start selling tickets now. I'll put the link up over the next few days. So, but
Ooh la la.
I feel like a little bit of a reborn man after these last 2 weeks of rest. I don't know. Just feels different. Feel excited. I don't know.
You don't feel sad that you're now the furthest you're going to be from another holiday?
No, I'm going in September.
Oh, what the hell? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel so refreshed, so energized. Like, yeah, you got another holiday in 20 minutes, bro.
Yeah. Well, this was
This
a
is a good thing, though.
This was a last minute one.
Where are you going?
No, the one we just went
okay,
on
yeah.
was a very last minute. Like, let's get on a little bit of a trip. But yeah,
How
fuck.
cool, man.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky that we got Bali so close.
Yeah.
And Thailand and whatnot. So, but how has your episode went very well recently? How have
it?
you been?
I got a lot of hate.
What?
Yeah, so many people message me.
Really?
Yeah, nah. I just wanted to be like hell sad boy. Like, oh no, my feelings got hurt.
Yeah.
I just get hell paranoid after these episodes because you say stuff and then you think, oh no, I'm dumb.
I don't anymore. But there's sometimes if you speak about someone else, I go, oh, maybe they don't want to be spoken about. But fuck it.
Yeah, fair call. I also feel bad, like, I don't know, like little things you got to reiterate because there's things that I know that I feel. Like even like I listen back to it. I should have given Delby a little shout out. This is his podcast. He's my housemate. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Like he was my house. You know what I mean? Like but I never mentioned, hey man, Delby's doing a good job. Like, in fact, the only time I'd mentioned him, I was talking shit. So to anyone listening, they're like, man, he must hate Delby. It's like, no, this is the opposite.
No, Delby's-
it's just, you know what I mean? There's just, so you just get started these loops and you're like, oh, I hate being on a podcast.
Classic.
Yeah, it's good vibes, hey.
Well, it seems to be. I think there's going to be not a new direction with the podcast, but a far more broader like a broader seeking direction.
Cool.
So we're very happy with the local episodes and the local guests. You know, Dane Swan. Great. It's great to have him on. Thank you for producing. It's awesome. But it doesn't seem to be like they don't appeal to the broader audience that we have abroad now globally. which makes sense, obviously. But we struck a
Why do
chord
they
by-
hate Australian culture? Are you guys racist? Is that what's going on?
Well,
yeah. No, fair enough. We don't even care about Australian shit. So why would
But I think people are. I'm starting to see it, and potentially maybe it's just the audience we've created. They like to see us and hear us speak about very topics that aren't normally discussed, which is why I think the ghost stories are going down, the spiritual awakening stuff. So I want to go through the 5 stages of the spiritual
that sounds
awakening.
hell good.
And it's quite interesting because everyone will, I think, be able to pinpoint potentially if there's a point that they're in or if they've started it, because I think you're constantly growing.
I wonder what stage I'm at.
We'll have a little look through.
What happens if I'm like stunted? I might be a spiritual.
That's part of
tard.
it, isn't it? I think that's part of one of the stages, being feeling stagnant.
Oh, you're good. He's good, man.
But
I've got a thing I'm obsessed with. I know it's got nothing to do with anything, though. Can I tell you about it at some stage if you want to know?
tell now.
Do you know words?
I know words.
Heard of them?
Heard of them?
It's my new favorite thing in the world. Etymology, they call it, if you're dumb.
Yeah.
Etymology, like it's a study of words. It blows my little brain hole, man. I've been so bad at spelling my whole life. Turns out it's not important.
Really?
Did you know that it's all bullshit?
What grammar, spelling,
Bro.
like what?
Bro, so
Blow my mind.
listen here, chappy. So you
Yeah.
know how English is? Do you know what it is? It's like an amalgamation of all stuff. So it was like they had like the Celtic stuff, and we didn't take many words from Gaelic, but like then the Germans kind of, it's like a German branch, the Normans and the Saxons, or no, the Normans are the French. Anyway, 1066, that's when the French come over and they started mixing with Old English. So then the Old English, which was basically like really old German and Dutch, started getting French words, and that's how we have English today, right?
Yeah, because it's all a little similar, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
this.
it's all a little mix up and stuff. But basically, then when we started to write shit down
Yeah.
in the Old English diaries and stuff like Chaucer and all that sort of stuff, they started writing shit down. But when they started doing that and they decided this is the spelling of everything, there's a thing called the Great Vowel Shift. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, the Great Vowel Shift. If you look it up, basically what happened is we decided to write everything down, and this is how we spell it.
Yeah.
And then the way we spoke changed over 100 years after that period. So all our vowels changed. So you know meat, M-E-A-T? It's because we used to say it like mate, meat, mat.
Really?
That's how we used to speak, but the vowels changed to meat.
Oh my God.
So like, there was a great vowel shift. So we wrote everything down and said, this is how we spell it. Then we changed the way we fucking spoke, so all the words didn't sound right. That's why the O-U-G-H, off.
So we changed the way we speak to suit the...
No. We just changed the way we spoke, and the words didn't match up. We'd finally written it all down, and then there was a great vowel shift. The way we pronounced A-E-I-O-U all moved a little bit. So then the way we wrote certain words were completely wrong.
Wow. So do
Right.
you know the examples of what they sounded like prior?
Yeah, stuff like miats, like fleisch, like it's like middle English, you know, like those accents.
Yes.
That kind of sounds more like what it would sound like. So if you listen
miat.
to like Shakespeare and stuff,
Yeah.
he would sound like Bill Bailey. That's the kind of that middle.
Yeah.
That's their kind of, that would be
Yes.
the accent and the thing. And then on top of that, in the 1700s, we started writing more things down in dictionaries. And the dorks who decided to write everything down wanted
Yeah.
to be like, we're so educated and smart.
Yeah.
The basis of all our languages, right? A lot of our words came from Latin,
Okay.
like the Romans and stuff.
Yeah.
But then some of our words came from French, like at least a quarter of them. But the
Yeah.
French words also came from Latin, so they almost so some words we took twice.
Yeah.
Some words we took twice, like guarantee and warranty.
Yeah.
We came from the same base, they're the same word, just G's and W's.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words where the G and the guardian and warden, same word. We took them from two different places. One got the G, one got the W. These are all the same things.
So no
then
wonder
the
it's-
people, when they wrote it down, they thought, well, these are all these words: debt, doubt, mortgage. These are all words that comes as a Latin base. We need to put the Latin letter in there to show that it came from Latin. But we didn't take it from Latin. We took it from the French. So things like doubt, debt, all those B's that are silent that you forget about,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be there. They added them to seem smart.
Oh my
The
God.
dumb cunts who wrote the dictionaries in the 1700s wanted to show that they're so smart and they know Latin. They added letters that didn't count to show that that came from the Latin root. Even though it didn't, it came from the French fucking word which didn't have the letter. So like the reason we can't spell, little dumb Cameron in Midland who thinks he's retarded,
Yeah.
is because when they wrote the words down, you changed how you pronounced them after you wrote it down, and then you added letters that didn't need to be there. And then 400 years later, I'm the dumb cunt because I don't get it.
Oh my God.
Like, spelling doesn't matter. It's all made up bullshit. Anyway, that's my rant. Sorry for screaming at ya.
I've always wondered that because for me, like people are like, I'll get your spelling right and blah, blah, blah. Does it matter?
No. See,
Did you understand what I said? You understood.
Exactly. So there's a certain level to it, but it's also like we're just making it up as we go. But then it kind of shows like there's some crazy shit when you see it. So the Normans invaded in 1066, right? William the Bastard became William the Conqueror, took over all the things. So then all of a sudden England is like it wasn't called England at the time, but it was run by the French. So like Richard the Lionheart, you know, the Richard King, like if you're like a nationalist of Britain, like he's the King Richard, spoke French. Holy French, oui, monsieur. I'm King Richard. I only speak French. He only spoke French. So that's why all the main words, so culture, art, government, they're all French words.
Why do they hate the French so much?
Because they're neighbours. It's like if Australia and New Zealand. Okay. Like ours is a fun banter, but if we had 1,000 years of living next door to each other, invading each other, like it would be. But like, so all of the official hoity-toity upper class words, like they all became the like anything for government, chivalry, and art. Yeah. All those kind of words became French, and are basic English words for losers. So that's why, like, I don't know if I said it last time. Cow, sheep, chicken, like all that sort of shit on the farm. When you see it, that's what we call it. But then once you chop it up and serve it to someone, because you're to the rich upper class person, that's when it becomes beef, which is the French word. Poultry. That's when it becomes veal and mutton. Once it's chopped up at the butcher, they used to be called a fleshmonger. We called him a fleshmonger. The French came, we took the French word butcher. It used to be called have you ever heard of Chapman? The last name Chapman.
So interesting.
Chapman was what we'd call it, and then we took the French word merchant. So like all the people with the last name Chapman, they just meant a shop person. A shipwright was a carpenter. What? Was a person who mowed boats. A tree wright was a carpenter, and then we took the French word carpenter. Like a tree wright made things, and we took. So it's just fascinating. You can see that English is just. It's a build-up of everyone that invaded that island and added their own language to it. Like as some people, there's a lot of different videos on it. They say that English is just French pronounced badly.
What the fuck?
Anyway, that's my rant on words. That's what I've been in my hole lately. That's all I watch is just etymology things, and I'm obsessed with it. Like,
fuck. That's interesting.
It's so much about your cult, and then like I don't know. It just says a lot about what people mean. Like Wales, you know, Wales, the Welsh. That comes from like the word of like the people when they invaded, like the Vikings and the Romans and shit, meaning other, foreigner. So they called those people, the Welsh people, they're the foreigners because they're not us, right?
Fuck.
Even though they're the main people of that island, and they kept pushing them west. So that's why you got Cornwall, which is the Cornish Welsh, Wales meaning foreigners, and Wales, where all the other Welsh people and the people that are Wales meaning foreigners got pushed there. And then the name for Wales, they call themselves Cymru. That's CYMU. Have you ever seen that? That's the official name for what Welsh call themselves. That's the Welsh name for Wales is Cymru. That means home, land, person. So they call themselves like brother. Yeah. And everyone else calls them foreigner. Walnut is a foreign nut. That's what walnut comes from. It comes from the same word that Wales, meaning foreigner.
Fucking
dude, I'm fucking froth words now.
Oh my God, that's fucking, that's pretty hectic. That's actually blown my mind a bit.
Thanks, man.
You've done very well. Because language has always interested me, like how there's similarities from like Spanish to sort of like even German. Like they're all connected. Like there must be is there an original language? Yeah.
So they can trace it back really, really far to some main ones, and they think that so it's called an Indo something, and it's basically this idea that it came across Indo-European.
Yeah. Okay.
And it came across, so Germanic.
Indo-European.
Yeah, it's kind of where they based it, the main ones that they came across from.
Like Asian, like...
Yeah, I don't know. There's some base ones that they think is the main root for a lot of languages, but essentially that, like the Romance languages, when you know how the same thing's a Romance language? I always thought because I meant it was romantic.
Yes.
Like it's French. Ooh, la la. No, Romance meaning from the Romans. So it's based in Latin.
Oh my God.
So Latin, all the languages that spoke Latin... Or they evolved into Italian, into French, into Spanish. Those are Romance languages. They're from the Romans.
Oh, my God.
And then you've got the Germanic ones, which is your Dutch, Old English, German. So a German speaker today could go back 1,000 years to London and probably still be able to communicate. It would just they'd be very similar, a lot of the words.
Wow.
And then even that, like, we then used our thing and structured them. So the Vikings add son to things. So like... Ericsson and all that sort of stuff. So they're saying the son of Eric, or you know what I mean? Like you are Leif Erikson, you're Leif, the son of Eric. You know what I mean? Like that's where the thing, when they invaded Scotland and mixed with all the Gaelic tribes. We took that on in our language. That's where Mick comes from.
Fuck.
Mick means son of. So I'm Cameron McLaurin, son of Lauren. So that's what McLaurin means. And then when they mixed with the Irish Gaelic, the Vikings, and they took the idea with O meaning son of. So O'Donnell, son of. But that whole naming thing came from when they invaded. We probably wouldn't have called our tribes McLarens in the middle of like Balquhidder. We wouldn't have been called McLarens had the Vikings not invaded, and we took that naming.
What is it by adding the Mick again?
So Mick just means son of. It's the same as them adding son to the Eric's son. You know how to make a clan?
Yeah.
And you're just saying that.
And O in
O
Irish
is the son of. It literally means son of.
And does that mean if you've still got O, like O'Brien or O'Malley, does that mean your family stayed strong to like they've
well, essentially it's just it's a naming convention.
The English, the British?
It doesn't really, because different clans took different things, like especially like the Jacobites is when like it was real clans versus, but then like different people took different sides. It was essentially just a naming convention we took from a different culture, and then we built our culture around it, and that's where we got it from. But it's like and even like someone pointed out today, you know how like a lot of last names, people are like, oh, your last name's Taylor because you were a tailor, or like Heath Chapman from the Dockers, his last name's Chapman, so he was a. Anyway, you can see Smith and all that sort of bullshit. We do that today with our phones.
Yeah.
How many people have you got in your phone where it says their first name Branchy podcast? Because I know you from the podcast. So you're saved in my phone as Branchy. Not you personally, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Karen from finance.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like different, like you say where their name is in the phone. That's essentially what we're doing. So you look in your phone and how many people that have the random last name as their job.
Yeah.
And that's how it would evolve. And that's literally how it happened.
Oh my God.
You're Joel the butcher, Joel Butch, and then all of a sudden, like your son, and like, you literally in your phone today, you can look through your phone how many people's last names you just made up to be just where you know them from. It's the same naming convention. We've been doing it for thousands of years.
Wow. I love that. That's actually very interesting to me. I need to delve into this. The language is always.
If you own the words, you own the conversation. If you can control the language, you control people. That's why, like, so after the Jacobite uprising and stuff, the English outlawed a lot of like speaking Gaelic and stuff, and that's why it's like a dying language. Or like Irish Gaelic is still really strong. There's still a lot of people, but Welsh is kind of real strong. I would say kind of real strong. You think of the millions of people, and they just don't speak it. They're trying to learn it, but that's why you kill it out. You make everyone speak your language. Don't let them have their own individual. Yeah, crazy, hey?
Well, you
want to know another one? You want
started with fire.
You want to go even deeper, Darty?
Go.
All right. So Winston Churchill used to speak in a thing called Anglish.
What do you...
So Anglish is where you remove all of the Latin and French words from English, where you just have Old English base root Germanic words and Gaelic words. They're punchier, they're harder, and for some reason they resonate more with people. So you know his famous speech? You know his famous speech after World War II is like, we will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them in the streets. We will fight them and we will not surrender. Every word of that speech is English. The only French word in that entire speech is surrender.
Really?
Every one of the words he says, we will fight them on the beaches. They are all punchy English words. They're not Latin. They're not French. They're like boom, boom, boom. They're just...
So was it a tactical way of speaking?
Yeah, he's spoken that on purpose. All of his speeches, he would go through and remove the words. He would go through and change them on purpose to remove the French and Latin words.
What purpose would it serve doing
For that exactly. A lot of politicians do it. It's because it's punchier. It gets to the point. It's more striking. It's less fruity.
Wow.
It's just more powerful and it connects more to people. It's a psychological thing.
If anything, we could probably see a bit more of that now, like some strong leaders. It's not... I mean, fuck, man. Like, look what's happening in the UK.
Yeah.
What is happening there? This is, with the upgrading of our terrorist watch, all the ASIO warnings, being upgraded to probable. What was it? Possible to probable? I think they've upgraded.
Is that what they've got it on now?
Yeah, just yesterday they upgraded that. And that's... I think, in my opinion, that's a reaction to what's been happening in the UK, because these things seem to snowball, and what's happening there is disgusting. Yeah. Have you seen much of what's going on with the...
I saw there was a stabbing or something, but there's been a lot of...
Yeah, so there's always a straw that breaks the camel's back, and this was fucking disgraceful. What's happened, disgusting. Immigrant... I think it was a 19-year-old lad, went and murdered 3 young girls.
Jesus.
With a knife, I think it was. It just like disgusting. But because it's the immigrant, it's the final. He's an illegal immigrant. It's like the straw that's broken the camel's back.
Yeah.
They're like, you keep letting these people in, and now they've gone and killed these 3 innocent little children, and that's now they're the martyr.
Completely fair enough.
It's the situation's been escalated, and they're just going around and getting anyone who's foreign, and just it's starting fucking riots. They're just beating them. They're trying to go to my immigration hotels and trying to get them all out. It's fucking hectic, and vice versa as well. Now immigrants are fighting back as well, and this can't be the way that we address the situation, because there's some very real concerns when it comes to illegal immigration and just chucking a heap of people in, giving them a job and not giving them a job, giving them money and a home when people are struggling themselves in your own country. There's a definite conversation to be had there about how they handle this. But that doesn't mean you paint all immigrants with a broad brush and start thinking they all need to fuck off and start beating them and dragging them out of their cars in the streets. It's fucking disgraceful.
But doesn't this show them that like at the end of the day, like the power of like, not saying that this is a good thing at all, but it's like this is what happens to people if you don't listen to them, right? And there's obviously been a lot of issues. You wouldn't hire someone at your job without doing a background check, but you're going to let millions without like just a check. And then you've also got cultural differences, and like we're talking about cultural differences, like where like you don't believe the other person's human or deserves the same rights as you. We're not talking about cultural differences like too much garlic in the 70s with the Italians coming to us. You know what I mean? We're talking about like they see gays and women as lesser in some parts, and you're not checking that and putting them into you're making a melting pot. And then it's like, well, for years people, it's not like, I don't know. It's like people don't just riot for the fun of it. No. You know, when they did the riots like 10 years or whatever, and there's always a reason. There's something that like sets people off, whether it's misinformation or whether it's an actual feeling or something, but it's fucking heinous, and I wouldn't want to be there, and it's very scary.
Well, I can't help but feel a lot of it's orchestrated, the divide and conquer tactic, and it's been used for centuries as a tactic to keep the people in line, basically, to keep them fighting each other instead of watching the government who's overseeing them.
Yeah.
But Albanese has said this is due to a rise in ideological radicalism, and they need to keep on top of this. And the reason people are radicalized in such a way is because they're constantly gaslit and lied to by their government to their face, where you can see what they're saying is completely incorrect.
Yeah.
And the overcorrection is always going to be a whiplash. It's going to fucking come back harder.
Hardcore.
Because if you're pushing things that are so absurd, like what the, not to align with any side, but like what the extreme left do, where they push it to a point of, this is absurd, then the alt-right are going to whiplash and come back with an overcorrection. Whereas there's always a middle happy ground. And if they were to just stop fucking gaslighting people and stop pandering to the public and treat them like they're adults and they can understand a real bit of reasoning and logical a breakdown of what's happening, because these things are very complicated. They should just stop fucking lying.
Yeah.
Because the lying frustrates people. They're going, you are fucking lying to my face. Now you are forcing my hand. Now I have to riot. Now I have to go and do this. Yeah. Take the power back. And then if you're a young, impressionable man who has not had a good upbringing, who does not have the right role models, you're going to think, okay, I see this immigrant that is here working, whether they're illegal or not, I'm going to go beat the shit out of this guy because I think that's the right thing to do. Well, they've not had the right person telling them that's the wrong thing to do. They're just acting on impulse and what they think.
Yeah.
And so and this is where you see the rise of like someone like a Tate, or the opposite. You see it's exactly because they've created a vacuum. It's the same as you kill a mafia boss. You've created a vacuum of power. You've got so much misinformation. If you can't trust the guy, if you're a bad parent and you just scream at your kids for nothing, and you smoke darts and you do drugs and you say don't smoke darts, they're gonna be like, fuck you. I don't believe in any authority. I'm not gonna listen to the cops. I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm not gonna listen to my mum. I'm not gonna listen to my dad. If you can't trust the government, and you know they're filling you bullshit like you're saying.
why would you trust? Like you're going to find someone else, and all of a sudden you got this other guy who's saying, "Yeah, I also hate the government, and I do sit-ups, and women are dumb, and here's my cigars." It's going to attract them, and then the hard left have got the same kind of icons that are also dumb, and it's because there's a vacuum. You
And
can't
in the
trust
world
them.
that we currently live in, which is instant gratification, which needs a short clip without the context and nuanced conversation that we all are having, like in a podcast, long form format conversation, we are having this chat and saying, this part needs to be addressed. Hey, let's not go there, blah, blah, blah. But in a short clip, it's just turned into this like, fuck women. They're
dumb.
They're dumb. And immigrants are bad.
They're bad.
Trump's the worst. And like it turns into all of that, which creates these pockets of division. And again, we're all pointing the finger at each other instead of going, well, we can all come together because we all want the same thing, which is a peaceful, fucking loving society. Everyone wants that. No one denies that. I don't think anyone wants to live in a world of war and hatred and death. We just all disagree on the pathway there.
Yeah.
And so if we could stop pointing the finger at each other, which, like I keep saying, I feel is orchestrated.
It definitely is because it's the same though. Like especially like like at the moment with the left. Everyone's like, oh, they're real sensitive. You can't say this, you can't say that, right? That's only because you're saying things that hurt their feelings. You're talking about gays and trans and stuff. So you can't say it. But as soon as you flip the script, when everyone thought that the opening ceremony was about a Jesus painting and they're losing their minds, sharing these videos, calling people, look, how dare you? This is a sacred painting by a gay Italian 300 years ago. This is it. How dare you pretend to do this? At the end?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even what it was about. But it's like, oh, now who's sensitive snowflake? Like everyone is sensitive. They don't want you talking about their shit. That's what it comes down to. So it's like, oh, okay, so like you don't want. They don't like you talking about gays and trans things, and you don't like them talking about your gods. Like, so maybe there's a line there. Maybe everyone has a line where you don't talk about each other's things that they hold sacred and important to them.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the one issue a lot of people would have had with that is because religion's been banned from the Olympics.
Yeah.
And whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I'm not 100% certain. But what they're trying to do is make it, I guess, like an inclusive for lack of a better word, so where
Greek
everyone
gods,
can.
though?
Yeah. So
the Greek gods isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, but like I guess a lot of
Greek
people's argument is like,
carnival.
you're not allowed to put religion in, and then you're using a religious thing. And I don't know if it was an ode.
It doesn't even look like. To me, it doesn't look like it. It's a lineup of people, and there's a big fat Smurf in the middle. I was like, what painting of Jesus have you ever looked at?
I mean, I'm looking at it regardless. What a fucking.
It's weird, but whatever.
Weird.
It's
terrible.
also have you seen any French entertainment ever? You watched a French movie, you've seen Moulin Rouge, you've seen anything French, they're freaks.
Yeah, it's been
That's
a bit
the
of
whole vibe.
Been a bit of a clusterfuck.
They had Marie Antoinette with her head off and stuff like.
Yeah.
Also, like no offense, why do people care? I know like this is weird from a fat guy saying this, but like have we not grown up? It's an inter-school sports carnival. That's what it is. It's a big Greek sports carnival.
Yeah.
Like it's fun and cool. I love anyone that's dedicated their life and it's a passion and it's so impressive you've done this.
Yeah.
But also like, has you ever cared about the opening ceremony?
No.
Like, I don't know.
I think this is the thing. I think the real issues are getting diluted by stupidity. And so an immigration issue over in the UK is a real issue. You can't just have fucking millions of people coming in and then
at all
take and sucking tax
even
dollars
if they're the best of people. That's my point before. Sorry, I didn't want it to seem like, hey, you shouldn't just be having Muslims in because of it. It's not even that. It's just like you should be checking you're an island with limited resources. That's all it is. You are an island.
Yeah.
There's only X amount of space on that island. There's only X amount of people you can actually fit on there to make that society work. Should you not be checking? Even if you were only taking in the best of the best from other countries, the absolute top 1%, that's still crazy. You shouldn't be you still should be watching what's happening.
And you've also got to be looking after your own people first as well. Like you got to say, well,
the homeless stuff and all that sort of. It's kind of like you can. I do believe you can sort two things at the same time.
100%. There can be a nuanced conversation about like, let's take in some immigrants. Let's work with how we get them functioning in our society and contributing, paying tax dollars and whatnot. That's a real thing. To suggest that isn't racist, and that's the same with the Trump border thing. He's like, I don't think we should have fucking millions of people streaming across the southern border. No, you shouldn't. It's fucking dangerous. It's obviously it's in aiding child trafficking. It's aiding fentanyl transportation and drug trafficking. And the fact that you are then paying these people to live in your country and taking your own tax dollars away from from your own people.
Yeah,
to
it makes
help
no
these-
sense
it- yeah,
whatsoever.
it does-
Especially because you got to look at if you've got gaping problems in your own society that are not being funded, but you're funding other things to fix other people's society. That's mental.
and suggesting that, and that's the issue, is that apparently to suggest that they should at least look into different ways of vetting these people and making sure that it's not just a fucking smorgasbord of walking across a border. That's not racist.
No, not at all.
And that's
Like,
not heartless.
if you
That's just like, yeah, let's help them, but let's do it properly.
It's like if we were a family. You think of Australia as a family, right? And then like we're like in our family, one of our sisters can't read very good, and one of our sisters doesn't have any shoes on their feet, right? Like which is like what like the regional Indigenous Australians,
Yes.
like they don't. You've got fucking nothing. If that's some of our siblings in our family, and Dad was taking our money and giving them to our neighbours down the road. Like, my mum would leave him. She'd be like, what the fuck? Look after your kids first, you rat bag. Like, if you think of Australia as a family, should that not be, like, make sure that there isn't, like, the infant death rate is fucking insane in some parts of this country. It's like, are you a first world country, Australia, or not? Like, there's so much we should be fixing first. Like, it's kind of insane that and it's like, okay, well, you still help the other people. You can still do that, but we need to help our own ones first, right?
Yeah. I agree. It's that what is it called? The the life jacket principle, the life.
Oh yeah, you can put it on the plane. You put it on yourself first before someone else. How are you supposed to help them?
Yeah, you got to help yourself first.
And
so
when
you
you're
can make
not,
sure
it's
you
going to
help
have
them.
riots.
Yeah. So as long as it doesn't mean you can't. Porque no las dos. Why not have both? Like you can have both. You can. A lot. Like I doesn't mean by saying we should focus on Australians and whatnot first. Doesn't mean we don't focus on immigration and getting and helping out. I guess lesser countries or countries in lesser fortunate positions. That doesn't mean we don't help them. It just means obviously we have a process. And same with America, same with the UK. But yeah, and I think a situation like that is heartbreaking to see because I think it's actually just I feel like activism gets hijacked in a lot of situations, and the good intentions of people can then just be heightened by emotion, and then they act in ways that they never would.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're seeing now. Like people are at the point of frustration where they've got nothing, they don't believe anything, and they look to the wrong person, and then they're beating immigrants in the streets.
Yeah.
Which is fucking disgraceful.
Do you fix it right at the root then? Like, I know this is going
do you
to
go
sound...
to the country and help the country that
Yeah.
they're immigrating from? I don't know.
Because the whole
what
reason it's like these people want a better life, and you can't blame them. And if you've got a family and you're in that situation, you could, like a lot of the times it's like, yeah, you would do the same thing. You would break your way into a country where it's safer and you've got better opportunity and you can do that. That makes complete sense. So it's like, well, what... If you're going to stop it, maybe we have to make it... Why
It's
is it... The
interesting.
fact that we're okay with the fact that there's a first world and a third world, that in itself should be a discussion. We'd be like, hey, wait, there's what? There's a whole segment of the planet that live in abject poverty completely. And then we're mad at them about them trying to escape that. Like, that's essentially where it comes... From an empathetic point of view, that's not right.
And
if
is
we
that-
fix the problem, maybe we wouldn't have... If, like, everywhere was like Perth, we wouldn't have to... You know what I mean? Because London's not that great. I've been to the UK. No offense. How bad is your home if you want to get to the UK?
Yeah, London.
If your country must be shit, if you're hurting yourself to get to the UK, no offense. Not that great. It's cool. I liked it. I love Scotland a lot more than other places, but I don't know. It's just like maybe that's where it comes down to. How do you fix those countries? What's wrong with them? Why are they so heinous that you need to get out? So is it war? And it's like, oh wait, so we're the ones bombing you? So if we stop bombing you, are you going to want to stop escaping your country? Like,
Hence, it feels orchestrated. It feels
it's
like a loop.
completely loop.
Because
where does it start?
you see like Gaddafi turned Libya into one of the
Most powerful
civilizations in Africa. He was going to start his own African gold, currency.
a united Africa, like,
And they
Oh,
go in
that's
there
why
and
he's
look,
dead.
look, he's dead. He's been killed because he was a dictator. Now, without doing a shitload of research into the way he ran that country, which could have been, I'm not going to say it wasn't, could have been fucking disgraceful. But sometimes people know how to run their country. And now that country is a failed state. That was the pinnacle of Africa. That was there was no homeless. He sorted the homeless problem. He was people were being paid to go get education, people being paid to do things with their land. Like that was a threat
Yeah.
to the American dollar.
But this is...
And
That's
so-
the thing. Like, is that how it looks? Is it the fast or famine kind of, the feast or famine kind of mentality? Like, I don't understand. Like, as far as economies go, I don't understand the idea that we need a shit one for good ones to. Like, if Libya is all powerful and successful, isn't that like the rising tides can't? Like, from my understanding of economies, you don't need the bottom. You don't need a shit one as well, do we? Like, America can still have a strong dollar if Africa has a strong dollar, or can there only be one strong economy?
Yeah,
on the
I
planet?
think America's dollar is dependent on the fact that everyone uses it as their reserve. But if you're dropping the American dollar, which a lot of countries seem to be doing now, and not trading in that, it affects the American dollar's strength.
Right.
And it's, I guess, a snowball, isn't it? Like if you're a country and your currency depends on the success of another currency, you're just going to go with the strongest currency. So if one's starting to look stronger, you'd probably go with
just
that.
jump on that. But then even like etymology, like let's go back to the language. It's happened so many times. Like literally just in the island of Britain itself, there was a period where they spoke French for 300 years. Maybe we're moving to the next. I always thought the next period would be Mandarin, but maybe it's going to be different. I'm not going to say it just in case, but you know what I mean? Like it's...
Yeah.
We've seen it in our language before that things change, ebbs and flows, and different people come in and out of power and stuff. And maybe that's just the change, like it's a currency thing. But maybe like that is the inevitable. I don't know.
Well, and it goes back to more like that whole doing your own research was like slandered for 2 or 3 years during that COVID era. I did my own research. Well, I did my own research and I felt comfortable with my decision not to take the vaccine. Not that that's not the conversation, but more so I did my own research there. Now, people are just not even looking and they're going with an ideology, and you see that with the trans stuff at the Olympics. It's not trans.
At all.
This is and this is why I'm a little hesitant to comment on it because, look, to one point, they, as far as I'm aware, they're both biological women and just failed testosterone.
They just have abnormally high testosterone.
Yeah.
There's a freak genetic thing that makes them produce that.
Yeah. Now, that's very different. If it was a trans boxer, every right to be going, this is setting a really bad precedent.
But then even the argument against it, that it's like, oh, well, then you shouldn't be allowed to. You produce the same testosterone as man. You should be banned from the thing. It's like, what about Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian of all time? Over 20 gold medals. Did you know he produces half the lactic acid of a normal person?
Yeah, there you go.
So imagine what that does to an athlete when you don't produce the same lactic acid, the muscle buildup.
Yeah.
He also has a 6'9" wingspan. He has an abnormally large wingspan and he's double jointed in every joint.
Yeah.
These are all genetic abnormalities that make you win 27 27 Olympic medals. Like,
100%, yeah.
no one's been like, hey, you're a fucking cheater, you freaky bendy boy.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I totally agree. I think I think what it does, again, it dilutes a real issue of like if we are letting a fucking man who's gone through puberty go back and do
have
boxing.
the high testosterone, have the dense muscle, have the dense bones.
Bone densities, yeah. If we're letting that happen in the future, that's the issue. And now that conversation is already marred a little because of this situation. So
people have already played their hand because that's almost what it is. They've been waiting for it. That's, some people I messaged the other night just looking at things they've shared, being like, you're obsessed with trans people. As soon as you see a thing, you want to share it and be like, look, this is fucked up. And it's like, it's not even the case.
So, not diluting a real issue that needs to be addressed when it does occur. I think it was, I can't remember her name. I want to say Hubbard.
Wasn't there someone called Fallon?
It was the New Zealand weightlifter.
Right, the weightlifter,
Yeah, so that's an issue. That needs to be addressed. But when it comes to this one, this is maybe a technicality that needs to be addressed and go, okay, well, no, they've gone too far above that testosterone level, potentially. But the argument that it was turned into actually damages anyone's argument going forward if they want to play that card, because now people can just say, well, this is you already had a go about this girl and she was actually a woman.
Yeah.
And so you already feel discredited.
And it literally, I don't know, if you're on that thing and it'd be an embarrassing. I think it'd be a very embarrassing moment for a lot of people because it's like the thing and be like, hey, you know how everyone's like sitting back down kind of laughing at you? Because the main joke too was like, you think Iran or Algeria or whatever the fuck the country was would send a trans woman?
No.
they would murder her with rocks.
Yes.
They're not going to send her to the Olympics to represent her.
Yeah.
Like, no, are you crazy? Like, it just makes it look. So, like, how people like laugh and be like, haha, you dumb idiot. That's how a lot of people feel about them anyway.
So
you know what I
this-
mean? And now, so it's like people on the left, or it's just one of those ones where it's like, oh, you blew your load early here, dudes.
It's
You
the
really
same
have.
as the UK immigration riots. You're diluting a real problem that will need to be addressed at some point. But now that conversation is a lot more difficult because of the way we've reacted to something that is completely unrelated.
Yeah.
It's
so spicy, man.
I know it's so spicy, but
And also, it's the main thing too. Like, you know, when people like, I don't know, do you care? It's the main thing. I think like the shit, before people have their opinions blasted and like people can listen to them, there should be a way to connect up to them, and a little light will light up to show how much you actually care about this issue. Because most people and I know like it's like morals and ethics and I know what I think is right. That's where a lot of it comes from. But also, how many people have ever watched a women's boxing match in their fucking life?
Yeah.
Ever. You like, to be honest, it doesn't affect my day. Who's winning all of the gold medals?
Yeah.
You could tell me Mike Tyson's put on a wig and doing it. It doesn't change my day. I don't give a fuck about women's boxing.
Yeah.
Like, I understand on the ethics and the moral that's bad, but the fact that this is international news when Ukraine and Palestine is still happening, why do you care that the women boxing is rigged? Even if it was blatantly,
Which we all know
that's a
boxing
trans
is
woman with
rigged.
a penis in their pants.
Yeah.
You can see it flopping with the punches. Even if you saw that blatant as day, who cares? It's women's boxing, dude. It's not important in the slightest.
And this is where I'm getting to now at this point where, and this podcast is interesting because this podcast, we bring up those divisive issues and I think we have good, balanced, nuanced discussions around them. I think that's always good. Sometimes I admittedly lean right now.
Yeah.
I think almost, and as Corey White says, sometimes I lean right almost out of spite.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
hey, fucking stop. Leave me.
Stop that.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it.
But I'm very comfortable to have my opinions and be staunch in my authentic feelings about certain situations because all you can be is authentic. If you start just listening to someone else and having their opinions as your own, then that's an issue in itself.
Yeah.
So that is when they say that do your own research has been marred now, and people don't want to look into things because they feel stupid. Like, no, just trust. Well, fuck.
And they'll just see something that will align with what they believe or whatever. So it's like, cool, this is my thing. And if you already don't trust the government, so anything in that sense you don't trust. You already don't trust people on the left, so anything they share. There's people that will still adamantly now, even though it's been, they don't care. They're like, I don't care that she's still a man or whatever. And it's still like, okay, well, I don't know what else does. I think it's just going to, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but you see, like, and we go back to just being lied to consistently. And I'm going to talk more about the election, I think, next week with Mr. X, who's coming on.
Who's Mr. X?
Mr. X is like my, he's like, I'd call him like my older brother, mentorish sort of bloke that I just have chats with every day at the coffee shop. And he's just very interesting. And we're going to talk the state of the world.
Hell yeah. All
but we'll
right,
talk
sick.
more about it there. But but something I will touch on now is the state of Biden, for example, which had been questioned for 4 years, and the Biden administration and the left wing media were staunch in their opinions that no, he is as sharp as a tack. He knows exactly what's going on. He's definitely in the right state of mind to run the world.
Yeah.
And then in a heartbeat, that changes. They realise, no, we can't fool the world anymore. He is no good. You've lied to everyone's face for 3.5 years, and now you expect them to believe anything you say about Kamala Harris. Like, I just, it puts her on the back foot already. Already, I'd be like, as someone who, I don't think Trump or Biden was the best candidates. I honestly think Robert Kennedy Jr. or someone like a Tulsi Gabbard is the best person for the job, but that's probably not going to happen.
Don't you think though that the semantics of that, like, so it's like, oh, it's tarred her because like they lied for us for years and shit. The other one's a convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted of things, actual crimes, thousands of other lawsuits, actual lies that you've clearly seen him say, and the other one's like, yeah, but this feeling, and you know they've like, oh yeah, but he wasn't. We still don't know that he hasn't been mentally all right for 3 years. Things like that can happen instantly. I've known one of my friend's dads got it and was gone. Like he was a normal guy and then dead in 3 months from dementia. Like it can just come on. And like, you picked it. He's an 80-year-old man. He doesn't think too quick.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like the idea that would tar her. Like the mental gymnastics to ignore everything Trump's categorically done and then have a problem with, but they lied to us about Biden. That's insane. They're not comparable at all.
Well, I think they're just more of a confirmation that you're lied to by the people.
Yes, by both though, right?
Yes.
Like
100%. And then so like, and I've used this example so many times as soon as they decided, or they haven't decided to go with Kamala yet. I'm not.
Oh, I thought that was locked in.
No, they haven't had the DNC yet.
So it still might not be her.
No.
Who could it be though?
Well, this is why they had, and this is why I said this is why they had the debate so early, because if either Biden did really well,
that would keep him.
They keep him, and then if he doesn't do well, they can get rid of him, which they've done. It wasn't hard to read the play. I said that a week and a half before the debate. Like, it's not hard. I'm just a simple Aussie bloke. If I can pick it, anyone can see exactly what they're doing. But I think this started circulating viral again was when Tulsi Gabbard took it down in the primaries last election, when they were all trying to be the president, be the Democratic nominee. And she brought up the fact that, one, she had laughed about putting people in prison for marijuana use, even though she'd used it herself. That's a pretty bit of a disgusting thing anyway. But also the biggest one, and I always seem to talk about this one, is the fact that she held over evidence as a lawyer that could have got someone off death row because it would have lost her the case. And only when she was forced to by the court, I think subpoenaed to release that evidence, did she do it. And then that guy got off death row and was released. She would have sent a man to death row to win that case without withholding evidence.
Okay, but
that's the sort of person that you want.
But with that, what was? Have you read that case? You know exactly that's what it was. Like, because also there's a lot of technicalities that can get people off, and this guy could be like a child raping murderers.
100%. And they're trying.
And she didn't release that one thing that was a clerical error. Like, maybe that guy deserves to be dead.
Yeah,
maybe it was a good thing.
100%. I don't actually recall the details now, but I remember.
I want a president that wants dead people by bad people dead. That's what I want.
I looked at the details 4 years ago when she did that.
So it's dodgy.
It was a dodgy. He wasn't dodgy. He was just wrongfully accused of something.
Great movie.
Wrongfully accused. But and that's just like, again.
Right. So she's a conniving little rat.
They all are. They're all.
Yeah, they're all.
And
you're into, that's the first thing. I think it should be. This is how we should do it. We should all gather together with guns and weapons, right? And find the top people in their fields and force them to rule us. So you find the best economists in the world and you put them at gunpoint in a room and be like, fix the economy. What do we have to do to make the economy work? You get the best, that's what you do. Like, get people who know what the fuck. You get all the best doctors in the world and be like, what do you need to make the medical system work right in Australia? How do you need to make have the people that are best at their job be in charge of it, instead of having paranoid, sociopathic freaks who aren't talented and they just want to be famous.
And they're lobbied by pharmaceutical companies, by big energy.
I guarantee the person who's paying for old mate Kamala Harris also just happens to own all the private prisons. You can't tell me the person that's been paying for her political career then had nothing like if she was laughing and putting so much effort into prosecuting people in prisons, I'm going to assume the people that are backing her financially own those prisons. Like, you can see that's her little homies, that's who she's looking after, and that they're now looking after her. Like,
even the way that
she's
got the money, and not just her,
instantly, just by announcing she's running against him, here's $50 billion.
So straight away they've found all these people who did not donate, who are on the donation list.
Ooh.
So they're finding like discrepancies, and they're like, no, I'm actually a Trump voter, so I definitely didn't send this money. So the money, they didn't send the money. The money's not actually come from their account. It's just listed at that as this registered voter donated $10 or whatever.
Right.
And that's thousands and thousands of people, and that adds up. And so where did that money come from? And that's where laundered money comes from, and that's where drug money comes from, and that's where George Soros or someone or BlackRock, who's got influence over the next incoming president.
Do you know BlackRock?
That's how they give them the money. That's how they go, right, no, we didn't
push it through that.
Yeah. So they just spread it like, we're going to send you $40 million in $10 increments and say it was all these different people.
Wow.
It's a fucking
Sneaky rats.
Yeah, it's a sneaky way of
Send me $10.
So I guarantee that's how Kamala would have got her money. It would have been like, I don't know, a big dog like a George Soros or someone saying, I'm going to give you $40 million, and then it's going to come from $10 and $15 and $20 from all these other anonymous sources.
Right. Okay.
But then George Soros has complete pull over what Kamala Harris is going to influence when it comes to policy. Hence what we've seen with fucking Burisma.
Yeah, but Putin's got the control over Trump. So what would you rather? A billionaire based in America or a billionaire based in Russia? What do you rather control in the world?
I'm interested in the whole what would happen if. So at this stage, you have to assume Trump's going to win. Anything could happen over the next.
I wholeheartedly think that I don't see the same groundswell. I just don't like. I've been looking for it, but a lot of people still aren't. Like, there's a lot of people being scorned by him. Even things like when he was inaugurated. Have you seen the photos?
No.
It's just weird. You look at the photos of when he was inaugurated, even just versus Biden, and you're like, oh, like, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't know. We're not there. We're not there living in it. We're not there seeing it and stuff. And I guess like we have to speak to more people. But like, I don't think he'll beat her.
You don't think?
I don't think but maybe it's just the same. Like I follow a lot of the right wing things. Like I don't really believe anyone. I'm just stuck in my.
Yeah.
I would rather just ignore it all and hope it all disappears. But like the more I look at it, the more I'm like, there's no way he's going to beat her. There's so much different. And if he does, it's going to be very interesting, I guess, because like there goes Ukraine. Like what happens with Palestine now?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So what do you think someone like him does? Because he's pretty staunch.
He does whatever he's told to by the people owning him.
Yeah.
But what is that? What are their?
Yeah, who owns?
Because even that assassination thing is crazy. Because what was that? Is that assassination? Because even when AOC and stuff were like questioning it and stuff, she looks scared.
Yeah.
Like almost like she's like, yo, is this an inside thing from the Secret Service or are you guys just super incompetent?
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing because you can't overlook incompetency, but I always think, and I think this is the case for a lot of things we've seen in history, and I don't know what the word is. Maybe we can come up with a word today and we can coin it. Oh, you love words. So basically, when you let something happen, you have inside knowledge that September 11 is going to happen. So instead of doing it yourself, it's not an inside job. It's complicit. There
is a word for that. We have that though. That is a thing that's
that?
happened heaps of times. So that even the British got word
What do they
of
call
Pearl.
it?
I'm not sure what the thing is, but there's definitely a thing.
Okay.
Because it's happened heaps of times. The British knew about Pearl Harbor attacks before it happened.
But they knew to get involved in it, they'd need a trigger
event. Be a little bit late.
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't know what that is. For me, I'll call it like complicit conspiracy or something like I'll come up with a coined term or find out what the term is. But it's basically just gaining knowledge of the fact that this terrorist attack is going to happen. Hamas are going to bridge our borders in one of the most secure borders in the world, and they're going to just attack and kill a heap of
music festival people.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like, it seems like they just go, right, we know this is going to happen, but to just give us the excuse to do what we wanted to do without looking like the bad guys, we're going to let it happen. September 11, I think, is a perfect example of that.
It's not like a false flag because false flag you do yourself.
You do yourself, yeah.
Whereas this is one you just let happen.
Like a complicit flag almost. It's like you just let it happen. You're...
I was about to use an example for Australian rules football.
Yeah.
It's
tanking?
No, Harley Reid, that kid, like he's a shit stirrer. He will push you around and then he gets pushed over and gets like, you know what I mean? He's starting the biff.
Yeah.
He's starting it and then getting the route. Like just, you know,
the
that
only
type
thing
of
is
person,
though,
like where you let the other person hit you.
But the only thing I will tell you is you're also not seeing, and I haven't looked at the Harley Reid stuff, and I see this with a lot of footy players. Yeah. You haven't seen the 15 minutes of fucking pinching their arms and getting them at the bottom.
In the mouth.
And eventually, like 5 minutes into the game, they're like, oh, fuck, he's a young kid. Like, fuck this. Fuck off, cunt. Like, I've had enough. Like, and that would happen.
Yeah.
That's not a great example, but
Sorry, but it's that idea about like letting the bad thing happen to you, so then you can be like, oh no, I've been punched.
Yes.
Look, please give me
and that's exactly. And
I guess I get to bomb these hospitals now.
This is when they say like inside job for September 11. I don't think it's an inside job. I think it's a foreknowing of a coming terrorist attack that they made sure would happen. They let it happen, so then they have the excuse to then go do what they did. I don't think it's hey, let's pay Saddam Hussein. Let's pay Osama bin Laden and a bunch of Saudi princes to get this sorted. I think it's a. I think it could be a bit of a combination of both.
Would it be but wouldn't it be scarier then? Because the real scary one then is the mixture of both. So there's the argument that we're told where it was completely,
It's probably
we didn't
closer
know
to
it
that.
happened and it happened. And then look at it, this is devastating. And the other version is we knew it was happening and we let it happen. The real fucking scary one, which I think we should really shit our pants about, and if it's true, the government would never tell us, is they knew it was happening and they couldn't do anything to stop it. It's like when I've been playing NHL at the moment on the ice hockey, and so many times they'll break me, and I watch them skate down from the halfway line. Oh, this is going to be a goal. There's nothing I can do. All my defenders are flooding back. There is nothing I can do. Bam, they score the goal.
But
there's nothing. Maybe we saw it happening, and there's nothing they could do. They couldn't scramble the jets in time. And they don't want to announce to the world, "Hey, look, we're really vulnerable. We're completely fucked up here."
This is the biggest fear, and I think the reason we don't say anything about aliens and UFOs.
Oh, because we'll be Donsky, Alawansky.
There's nothing they can do.
The cry.
How do you come out to the world and say there are these craft that are going around? They're from a different civilization, and we have no control.
We can't stop them. We can't control them. We can't do anything if they decide to just start
Could you
shooting.
imagine how
Dunsky.
vulnerable the world would feel? The planet would shit itself going, yep, there's aliens. Unless they came down and said, like the aliens came down and said, no, we're not, what is it called? When they're nice.
We're friendly.
Yeah, we're friendly. We're friendly.
We're cool cats.
We're here for peace. Unless they came down and said, we are not here to hurt you, and we're here to learn and try and develop a relationship with an extra civilization. Aside from that, without the unknown of like what these creatures or beings or civilizations are, you are going to shit yourself at the fact that you have no control over what they do. They look at it. They could look at us like bugs. Like we look at a bug and you go like, it's just one bug.
Well, yeah, because they can't stop you. I
don't want an ant in my house. Okay, sorry, mate. Done.
What would you rather us look at us like though? If they could look at us like bugs, and I don't go out of my way to destroy bugs.
No, yeah.
I don't see ants and be like, I'm going to smash up this colony. That's
I would
insane.
like to think.
Whereas spiders, on the other hand, though, I'll go out of my way to mush you. Or like a bee. No, I wouldn't go. You know what I mean? But I don't know. There's certain bugs where you would destroy them because you're like, fuck, you die.
I look at certain spiders that are dangerous and poisonous, and I go, I have to get rid of you and kill you. I'm sorry, because I have a daughter. I have people I have to look after. Mate, if aliens looked at us like that, hey, these people are. That one's kind and friendly, but that one, I need to get rid of that one because you're a danger to me.
Oh, I really want to tell you my idea for a movie,
but
I don't want to. I don't want anyone to steal my movie idea.
Tell me after the.
Can I just say it?
Say
it's
it.
real entertaining. No, but someone will steal it, and it might be my $1 million idea.
Are people going to take action on that?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Probably not.
Maybe they will though.
Just maybe this will force you to write it quicker.
Nah, I'm going to hold on to it.
Oh,
Just
classic.
in case, what a loser.
I'd like to think that if we met an aliens race, which in my opinion, we've already met at the higher levels. But if we were to meet an alien race, I would like to think they were highly evolved spiritually and physically, not dependent on certain foods and resources, that they'd sort of evolved in a certain way. That they wouldn't need us too much. And they would have nothing but kindness and compassion for us. That's what I'd like to think.
Well, it would make sense though. That's that optimistic nihilism. Have you heard of that idea?
No.
Where it's like nihilism is like the idea that everything's pointless. There's nothing for anything. Like even if you look at the expanse of time just on Earth itself, how long the Earth goes for and how short a human lifespan is, it's kind of cruel. We're never going to see the beginning of, the planet has been around for so fucking long and we've been here for the tiniest segment of that. And then even of that, the tiny segment that humans been alive for, you personally are alive for the tiniest fraction of that. You only live for 100 years. Humans been around for 20,000, 30,000. The planet's been around for millions and millions. So it's kind of sickeningly sad how much it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't matter. But then it's the idea that we're the only living, breathing, feeling thing. We're the only thing in the universe as far as we know that thinks and feels and has emotions. So if we're only here for a limited amount of time and we're the only thing that we know in the universe that can think and feel and love, then that's what we're here for. We exist. We're the only thing that can feel positive emotions and give out love and things. So we might as well, that's the point of it. That's the idea of optimistic nihilism. So it's kind of like, if aliens are also out there and like the planet, the universe is so expansive, they have to be, right? Categorically, there has to be other life out there. And if it's conscious, you'd assume maybe they'd reach the same thing. Because it's weird then that they would have to have emotions. They would have to have feelings of good and love and right. They'd have to if we have them.
Yeah.
Or can you evolve consciousness without it? And if the only reason I feel like it's the only reason we exist is for that. So it's like they would have to also have it. Otherwise, why do they exist? What's their purpose in life? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? So they would have to, like you're saying, like, I would have to feel they would have to be peaceful and loving and kind. Because if they were just this, we take over, we dominate, we expand. Like, why you exist? Why haven't you not stopped to think of why you exist?
I would think that they would be learning and lessons. But also there's a part of me that believes yin and yang and how we require the opposite. Yeah. So I do believe there would be that type of civilization that would go around the universe just conquering and destroying. But I don't think they'd be as highly evolved, or potentially maybe their thought would be logical, like that actually sources energy for them. Or I always think I don't think logically if there was an alien civilization going around, I would always hope, and this is probably optimistic nihilism, that they are just trying to learn and they're just trying to explore and see what else is out there and maybe help and be compassionate and let us and guide us potentially. But
do you reckon we're the leftovers? Do you reckon it's more likely we're the leftovers? So like the more you look at things and you look at like the genome and even like the great apes, where there's the 4 great apes, like orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas and humans, right? They're the great apes. And the difference is someone's fucked with our chromosomes. There's like been some kind of chromosomal change, and that's why we're who we are and we're not them.
The missing link.
And then it's like we have an abundance of gold. We have there's certain things that are found in abundance on this planet and stuff. And you look at it and you're like, maybe someone did come back.
Yeah. I certainly...
inject a monkey with something, get them to dig something out of the ground, and off they went. It was fuel for something, and they just were the remnants that was left behind.
I wholeheartedly agree in with the like Anunnaki style story.
Yep.
Of that, that we were fucked with and tinkered with by an extraterrestrial civilization looking to harness the resources of the planet.
Yeah,
I do. I don't think that's as crazy as believing in like Jesus Christ. Like and the thing is, ¿por qué no los dos? I said it before. Why not have both? Like I can believe in both, and I certainly do.
Because the only thing that with the Jesus one too, and this is where I'm stuck believing him, right, is because he's put a caveat in there, which I think is very smart. It's a little, or it, God, the Spirit, whatever, the Bible, the people that have made you. The people that made Christianity a religion have that whole thing where it's the only time Jesus will ever turn his back on you. The only time he will ever deny you forever is if you ever deny him. So if someone asks me if I'm a Christian, I say yes, even though if I don't actually know if I am. Because on the off chance he is real and you go up to heaven and he's like, no, you denied me, goodbye. You can murder children in Christians' eyes as long as you still believe Christ is your Lord and Savior and believe that with your heart and soul, you'll get into heaven. Or at least you'll like not get into heaven, but like you got a better. There's some kind of idea of that.
Yeah,
so it's like that whole like. So it's such a genius thing to write into the bylaws of your religion that me with this logical and how much I look at theology and think everything through. There's still a little bit of me is like, yeah, but you have to believe. You got to believe in Jesus, otherwise you're not allowed to get into heaven. On the off chance that it's real.
I always think Jesus Christ was like a prophet, he is a prophet, like a Buddha, like someone very wise who had a good understanding of what was going on.
Can I give you another theory? Like literally it's that. What happens if Jesus was just a boy that was a little Jewish boy born in Nazareth and stuff, and he started taking to church because all of his things was this. He just knew so much and he understood and he was debating the lecturers and so maybe he had high level autism. Maybe he was the first one of those like high level Stephen Hawking's, and the only thing they really taught him, the only thing you learn is the Bible and stuff, or like the Torah. So he ripped through that when he was like 4, had a deep understanding of it. He's super genius and like Einstein, Isaac Newton level. We haven't got physics yet. So he only knows the world in terms of what it is. So that's where it all come from. And he's like this philosopher because he's just smarter. Everyone else is dumb cunts. So like he just looks like this wise God has sent this guy a message.
Yeah.
Because he read the book that and he pointed out all the hypocrisy because he was smart enough to understand it. And then he was going around being like, no, we should look after this person.
Yeah.
Like, very simple. It's all about love and care. It's because he's smart
100%.
enough to not care.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, don't do business in the church. That's insane.
Yeah.
Hey, be nice to that person. He's like so calm and care. Maybe that's all it is. I'm sorry for saying Jesus had autism.
No, I totally buy into certain ideas when it comes to him as a real person. His teachings are very good.
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ's teachings.
And I love that there's stories.
But just sometimes I feel like a religion can hijack even the greatest story. And I do think there has been some maleficent. Is that the right word?
I guess.
Like a bit of greed in the church's power and using certain messages to make sure they stay in control.
Yeah.
I'm your way to God, not you.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you can find God internally.
Or even there's a Matt Storer was reading me different parts of the Bible. He was showing me different.
Can we hold this? I need to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're back.
Man, he just did this
yeah.
filthiest poo. I heard it from next door. It's gross.
So what were you saying? You're in Matt Storer? What does he do?
Matty Storer was like, we recorded this thing. I don't know if it's ever going to come out because he's working on it. We did a thing called Bible Boys. And it was like he was reading me different parts of the Bible and we're just talking about it, like learning lessons and stuff because he grew up in the church and
Love
stuff.
that.
So he has a real good understanding academically.
Yes.
And I like to learn, right? So we're having little chats and recorded them. But anyway, he was going through the top smites, like his favorite smitings where God murdered someone in the Bible.
Yeah.
And one of them, I lost it laughing because I'm like, that didn't happen. They just added that in. And it was about a guy, you've got to give your tithing. You've got to give your amount to the church. And he didn't. He tried to lie and he got smited dead right there. So it's like, hey, better pay what you owe or God will murder you.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's so out of place. It even sounds like it's written differently to the other stories. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
You added that in there. That wasn't a real smiting. Also, Johnny didn't give the 10%. So God hit him with electricity. But like,
That's far.
it's pretty good, man. Some of the Bible stories, especially the old Bible, like the Old Testament, mental. Like there's a story about how like these
comes down to translation as well. Like, and you just spoke about words.
Not just translation. Like one story is about like these angels come to visit, like Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm pretty sure was one of them. Or like no, there's something about the guy's wife and he had to escape. Anyway, I knew the story better when he told me. Bible people will know it. Basically, these angels come to a place and the angels are so beautiful. A crowd ended up being out the front of the building because they wanted to rape the angels. They're like banging on the window, like, "Oi, let's get those angels. Those are some hot guys you got in there." Legit, man. That's a Bible story.
What the
I'm
fuck?
not lying. There's a scene and they're all like trying to get in. Hey, give me those angels. Those are hot. Or like, give me your daughter instead or something. Like it's full on story. And then he escapes with them.
But it just constantly seems to me when they talk about angels, I always feel like they're talking about just aliens.
Has to be, right? Even the way they describe them, it's all
Like beautiful. Like,
but they never like describe them as like a beautiful person with wings and stuff,
Yeah.
I guess. But it's like some of them, the descriptions are like these like sacred geometry with feathers and eyes and stuff. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh man, that sounds
yeah.
very alienic. Or like I remember having DMT. That was a very intense little. I saw lots of shapes and lines and feelings and a baby and it was full on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's spicy. It's spicy.
It is spicy.
I also love the idea, the last Thursday idea that like the world doesn't exist, bro. We can't prove the world exists. Like the whole universe started last Thursday. Prove it didn't.
Okay.
Right now,
Yeah.
everything last week was a memory. It's not real. You can't prove that happened to me.
Yeah.
It just all came into existence then. So, like, there's a fun fact. Like, we got truth or dare. Truth or false. In my quiz company, we got a true or false round this week. So I found all these cool facts. Right, one of them, true or false. The Mona Lisa used to hang in Napoleon's bedroom. True or false?
Okay. I'd say true because it's a strange fact.
Yeah, it's true.
It is
then you
true.
think of that now that it's like this iconic, beautiful piece of art, millions of people. But there was a time where because this guy owned France and they just happened to have it just before the French, he had it hanging in his bedroom. He'd wake up every day and just look at the Mona Lisa like it's a bit of art you got on the wall now. That's a real thing. That for a moment in time, that was just his own personal artwork in his bedroom. That's so fucking weird to think about. It's almost not real.
Yeah.
How did that exist? That's just a made-up thing you know what I mean? It's just weird to think the past even happened. Like you and I right now, I'm going to go home and I'm going to be in my house and look at a painting on the wall. And I don't know, it's just weird I don't know. There's so much of the past that it's like, how is that real?
Yeah.
Alexander the Great taking over the planet, and then everything's named after him in the Library of Alexandria, and then Cleopatra and Mark Antony and all these stories, all these people. And then these are just the famous ones. Then all the people that just lived the nothing lives, our ancestors, just the normal farmer who got up and was in the feudal system, and then he had a kid. Like, what the fuck? How is that all real?
Yeah.
How is any of that real?
And I think that leads to something I wanted to talk about with that spiritual awakening, is having those reflection moments of just going, what the fuck is life?
What is this? Yeah.
What is this? And this is where I think it always begins.
What happens if it's us? What happens if, so right now I'm thinking and feeling and I'm Cameron. I have all my memories, I have all my trauma, everything that I think that makes up me, boo, 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 I'm a Cameron. But what happens if every time you die, you just start again? It's not reincarnation. It's literally like I wake up and I just don't remember any of the last one. So it is a past life. And then you just live again in this next being, and then you die and you come back. Because how do you know it wasn't you?
I think you're constantly, for me, I feel like we're constantly moving our individual perception through an infinite number of potential moments of which we can exist.
Right.
I think like right now, my perception, God's perception through me, is experiencing this specific moment. But that doesn't mean I don't move into a different timeline or a different energy or a different version of that and experience from a different point of view, something that's slightly different from this experience, and consistently moving through those timelines in which I just choose to make sure this is where I am existing. I know that sounds very complicated, but if that's all that exists, then that means I think you can sort of place yourself wherever you want at all times. Now, you can't change the past because it doesn't exist. Like you said, the only thing that exists is right now.
Right.
So if I would like to place myself in a new existence, I just need to work my way towards that, and I find that through meditation. I don't know if I've explained this very well. It's quite a complicated.
So it's like you're choosing you go to get to that higher frequency, and then you're seeing the world at a different thing, or like you're in a different world. Like your reality is shaped because you're different. Is that what you're saying, kind of deal?
Yeah.
Or you're choosing the good moments, or like...
I'm choosing the reality in which to observe that universe.
Right.
Or my current existence. Because I feel like there's infinite number of moments, existence, and directions you can go at any different point. And you're constantly choosing in which point that you want to experience in that. It's really difficult for me to try and... It's one of those things I feel like I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't articulate what I'm trying to say. But basically, I feel like if it was a 3D model, and this point here was the reality in which I'm currently living.
Yep.
And the reality of the millionaire Cameron is just over there. I'll just move myself to there.
Right, okay.
Or the reality of the sad, depressed Cameron's just over there. I move over to there. And then I'm always have my own power to be able to move and change where I want to be existing.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's a hard thing to try to explain, but I think we're all capable of completely changing our existence, but just by simply moving our mindset to the existence that we want. And then you'll start experiencing that.
Yeah, far out.
But
is that the chicken or the egg thing? I was literally thinking this on the way here. There's so many celebrities. There's so many people who are blessed. Like Bieber is real religious into God and stuff now. It's like, of course you would be. Imagine you've been world famous. You've got everything you've ever dreamed of. You're going to feel like there's a purpose. You're kind of forced to be Christian. Most successful people believe in God. Is that because God made them successful, or they're successful and they feel guilty, so they have to justify why they've been blessed? Is because, I believe in my Lord and Savior. That's why he's given me all these blessings. Yeah. Or is it because you're appreciating life and the blessings that you're more likely to attract them and prosper? Like anything you put your hand to, you'll prosper because you believe that. You honestly believe there's like a higher power guiding you. So you put yourself into that higher power mindset to be, you know what I mean? You attract the good like a magnet. Is that kind of like...
I think so, because I think there's more there is science behind some of these observable truths, and like that, as above, so below. For example, the full quote is "as above, so below." I think it's and as without, as within, as without. I think it is, but basically within, without, as above, as below. It's like it's like a nod. It's a tip of the cap to the fact that the universe works in spiral form all the way down to the atom at its smallest point.
Right.
Mirrors that same thing, and it's patterns within the universe and within life that completely, as above, so below. It is all the same. I feel like it's the same as you, as your energy, your personality. If you're emitting the energy and personality of someone who's struggling in life, you're probably going to attract more chaos, more struggles.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're emitting that energy of someone who's happy, motivated, ready to go, you're probably going to see and attract more of those happy, motivated, real experiences.
Did I tell you the dog
as
thing?
above, so below? You are going to experience what you're experiencing internally. You're going to experience that externally.
As above, so below. Yeah. So you're putting it out. Yes. Yeah. 100%.
So if you if you're just going, right, I'm going to go in with the positive mindset, for example, that's the same thing. Like you're seeing the red car with the when you buy the red car, you see the red car. I think it's the same. It's more than just seeing. I think it is an actual energy. And as far as I'm aware, when it comes down to, and this is my bro science, but there's something to do with the observer effect, and what do they call it? Quantum entanglement. Like you see these things that we don't know the answers to, but it's a real thing. So there's something there. There's something there that the observer is intrinsically tied to the actual experience.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty crazy.
Pretty cool. But there's a good little philosophy that's kind of that same thing. It's like a story about a dog. And it's like there was a dude like sitting there smoking cones. I don't know what he was doing, crying, doing what people do, sit. And there was like a hole in the wall, and this like this hell dog that was all like happy little puppy like walked up the road, went into the hole in the wall. He's in there for hours, and then he finally come out, and the guy was like, "That was weird. I don't know why the guy was sitting there for hours. He's a weird dude." And then the dog walked away, and then a hell like sad, angry dog went in there, and he was like, "Oh, he's gonna be cheered up when he goes in that hole, I reckon." And he went in the hole, and he made all this sound and come racing out again. And he's like, "What the fuck?" So he put his head in the hole to see what it was, and it was just a room full of mirrors. And so it's like the idea that the happy dog went in there, and he was just surrounded by a bunch of other happy dogs. So he spent hours in this room being like, "Fuck yeah, look at all these happy dogs. This is the best feeling ever." And then but the angry, sad dog went in there, and he was surrounded by other angry, sad dogs, freaked out and ran away. And it's like nothing about that room was different. It was just the dog's attitude. It was their mind. It was their whole attitude. The world reflected back to them what they were putting back. And it's that whole idea, right?
It's a really good analogy for that.
Thanks.
It's
just
good.
Repeated it myself.
It's very good.
Right. It's that saying, that's exactly that, right? So it's like,
yeah, you are a mirror of your internally and externally. So what is happening in your external world is a mirror of your internal world.
Yeah.
And that's not easy for a lot of people to take on, because that they think, oh, well, that means this tough situation I brought on by my attitudes and my mindsets. Yeah,
but it's not always that either. But it's also like the only way to get through shitty situations is to change your attitude about it, though. That's what it also says. Just because it's happening to you doesn't mean you brought it on you. But the only way you're going to get through it is to change your mindset about it. You can't wallow in it. You can't be like, oh, this is fucked.
Well, it seems like we've sort of half covered it, so we might even. I'll go into it because I did write a few things down about the five
spiritual journey.
Yeah, we won't stay too long because you have to do some stuff, and I have to go pick up my daughter.
Quiz things.
So, but I did take a few photos, and I wrote down some things. So the spiritual awakening for a lot of people, that can get like a bit of a cliche, sort of like, I'm going through my spiritual awakening.
Spiritual.
And it's not. We don't have to even call it a spiritual awakening. It's a growth, a mindset shift.
A tumor.
It's a change. It's a change. It's a new chapter generally.
Right.
And
a new hat.
Yeah, and you don't just have one. Like it's not like you're stuck to just you get the one spiritual awakening. We're constantly growing. We're constantly learning. But generally, and definitely through my experience of I have definitely experienced a lot of these, and on my way, And I'm sure I will
yeah.
experience it again. And I think a lot of listeners at home will have experienced some of these things and maybe in a certain point of their own spiritual awakening, especially if they're listening to this podcast. I think we probably appeal to those sorts of people who are yearning for understanding and yearning for conversations with people who have the same sort of ideas as us.
Yep.
So phase 1 is the emotional awakening stage. So it's the initial phase of the spiritual awakening where emotions and ego dominate our perspectives, and learn how this stage affects our view on the world and ourselves, often leading to a feeling that we are being at the mercy of life's circumstances. So we're basically, that first stage is starting to feel like life's happening to you. You don't have control. Right. And you sort of feel stuck. You feel like I'm just going through the motions. There has to be something more. And you start to have that realization. Right. And I think everyone goes through that realization at some point. And I think everyone would be going through that realization right now. Maybe they're a few stages ahead or haven't got to that point. But at one point you start going, there is fucking more to life.
Yeah,
and
I'm stuck in this and I don't like this.
Yeah, like even if you have everything, eventually you're going to go, well, what else?
Yeah.
You know, there has to be something more. There has to be something internal. So that's always the first phase. And that's often uncomfortable because it leaves you feeling directionless, what to do, upset, but also motivated to like, right, now I'm excited to learn about all these new opportunities and where I can go.
Yeah.
Phase 2 is emerging from the unconscious stage. So in that stage where you're sort of just going through life, living the white picket fence life, like I'm going to get the job, the house, the wife, the dog, do all the things you're supposed to do. When you're in that stage, you get to that point where you start to unravel. In the second phase where you go, oh, that isn't what makes you happy. They're all material things.
Yeah, so I've put all my eggs in the wrong baskets or whatever.
Yeah, so we explore a growing of self-awareness, a sense of unity with the universe, and understand how overcoming inner fears and doubts is crucial in the phase of spiritual growth. That is where you start looking internally. You start going, what can I do to change me? One trap a lot of people fall in this stage is once they start to find the ideas, they start to think, oh my God, I found a new way. I found the good way. I found the best way. And you need to see it too. I want you to do it. They get so excited about it because they find that one good thing. It's like when someone finds a good diet, they're like, oh my God,
everyone's got to do this. This is the way to do it.
Yeah, and it's not an arrogance thing. It can come across arrogance, but it's like, I found this way and it made me feel so good. Now you have to do it. So that is a trap you can fall into when you're in this stage. But it's so early in your journey. Generally, most of the things that you're learning are you're not listening, you're not speaking the language. And we've spoken about this before on the podcast where you can have the most incredible story, but if you don't speak each other's language, it means nothing. And so you can
that's a good point.
Yeah, you can be listening to someone's wisdom and not hear anything that they're saying. Because you're just not ready to hear it. You don't have an understanding. Yeah, just like the lyrics
the
in the song.
Dunning-Kruger effect. Like you literally aren't capable of understanding it.
Yeah. Well, and it's sometimes you have to experience something to go, now I get it.
Yeah, Jack Barrett, Australian comedian Jack Barrett, has a bit. He doesn't do it anymore, but it was about that. Like he didn't get love songs until he finally fell in love, and he's like, "That's right, Daryl. I will go riding on the horses." like you don't get love songs until you finally fall in love. You don't get breakup songs until you have your heart broken. You don't get it, so you're not going to get wisdom until you're like, fuck, I wish I understood this before I got hurt. But you're not going to until you do.
Exactly, it's all part of the journey, and that's a beautiful part of the spiritual awakening. Is you have to experience it for it to be part of the journey. And through this self-discovery phase, that's where you start learning new ways of thinking and living and basically going internal. You start to go within. Then you get to the third phase, and the third phase is like the dark night of the soul, the ego death sort of stage. So this is the ego dissolution stage where you dive into transformative process of ego death, where preconceived identities and beliefs are challenged, and we discuss how this leads to a profound introspection and a newfound clarity in life. So that is where when you have that ego death, you can have it in any number of ways within a spiritual journey. I think in those moments, the things that you need changed you'll start to see it because you've started to change. You've gone internal. You've started to see different ways of living, different ways of thinking, and you haven't started putting it into practice. And you'll start to subconsciously go, oh, that relationship there I'm seeing it differently now, and I'm not taking action on that. Eventually it's going to get violent, and you're not going to have a choice in this situation where it's going to be so uncomfortable that you have to rid yourself from that situation. I like to say the universe steps in and goes, fuck you, I've told you, I've given you the signs, this was enough. But I also think it's your intuition, knowing that, this isn't for me, that job isn't for me, I don't like this house, I don't like this city, I don't like this health that I'm sitting in, whatever it ends up being, I'm going to make the change. I think in the dark night of the soul era, that's where you start really battling with those changes that you need, and it's uncomfortable as fuck. It is a terrible time as well. It is not good. It is, if you look at it as a form of growth and understanding that this is the necessary trauma that I need to go through to get to where I am, it does help. But like we've said a couple of times on the podcast, sometimes when you're in the middle of the storm, you can't see the outside. Yeah, and it is tough.
It would be too, I guess, because especially if you're confronting really heavy things, I can only just bring it back to my own personal things, and I'm just thinking about things with a certain of that where you get to and you're like, yeah, it kind of sucks.
Oh yeah, and if you use my own personal experience with which a lot of the listeners would have heard, going through the divorce, going through COVID isolation, business changes, like changing in there's so many different ways, and that sort of time period. Is where I had to really just let go of all of my old ways of thinking, the ways that I've been sort of my identity and my ways of going, or the way that I would react to certain situation has all been a product of my environment as I've grown up. And so getting rid of those sorts of ideas is a fucking challenging time, because it's an ego death, because it's challenging you as a person going, I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I was always right. I thought I was on the right path. You have to realize you're wrong in what direction you've gone. Not wrong in general, because what was wrong for you might be right for someone else, but it was wrong for you. And it's like this kick in the teeth. It's like I have to go backwards now. I did so much work to get to where I am, and I went in the wrong direction. Yeah, so it is an ego death. It is you can have it in so many different ways. I had it physically. I had it in my life. I also did the mushroom trip, and that was a kick up the ass. That was like the ego death on steroids, just completely letting go. But it also, when you're having this ego death, you're making room for this new person that you're trying to become, or not trying to become, you are becoming. Because if you had all these old ideas, it's hard to entertain these new ones if you're sort of still battling going in between them both. So the idea is to basically rid yourself, become a blank canvas. You're going to start again.
Start fresh.
But that is not comfortable. That is taking away every part of what you thought you were.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to make room basically is what it's doing. It's making room for the new you to step into, I guess, and all these new and on a minor scale, that's what the mushrooms do. They sort of clear that pathway and the default mode network in your brain, so you can go, right, this was my old pattern and now I can start new patterns.
Right, new neural pathways, new.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, and that's through constant reinforcement. This isn't a quick process. Like, it could be quicker for some and longer for some. This could take decades. This could take years. It could take months.
But it took you years and decades to get to this point.
Exactly.
So to fix that or to go back is obviously going to take a little. You can't just
100%. Yeah. Now, we might we're all in different phases of this awakening, and like you said, you'll experience this one, and then you'll go through another awakening. Like, there's different versions of that. It's never ending. And to think you're ahead of someone in your development probably goes away from exactly what an awakening is. But once you sort of start to get through those sorts of phases, that part of the spiritual awakening, we go to phase 4, which is now we've identified all the things that were holding me back, the reasons they were holding me back, or the reasons I was suffering because of this thought process. Or once you've identified all this, we can start to actually go, right, I am a new person. I am going to work into the new version of me. So this is exploring the quest for truth about life, existence, spirituality, learning, deep introspection, heart-driven journey towards understanding the greater universe. So this is now we're reinforcing these new ideas that we've learned through this first 3 phases and making that the new person.
Yep.
But you are still learning. So now, like I said, you couldn't speak the language before. All these lessons that you might have been taught along the way, you didn't pick up. So now you can go back. You're going in with fresh eyes. So that's the 4th phase. Once you've gone through that ego death, you are open to everything you were thinking was completely wrong. And now I am going to start anew.
So it's almost like the real step 1.
It is. It's like you had to break yourself down to be able to start again. And so now you're learning. So the 4th phase is basically relearning. It's becoming, it's figuring out that person that you want to be. That's authentic to you. That doesn't mean that right person for me is right for that person, but it is right for me. And it is the way I want to be thinking. And if there's slight wrong issues with the way I'm thinking and my process of the way I get here, potentially the next time I grow, I'm going to address that. But that's why it's consistent growth. It's always coming back. But in that 4th phase, that's where we should be learning. We should be talking.
That's your main spot of flat.
Yeah, we should be learning from ancient wisdom. We should be going back and learning, talking to people, talking to yourself, getting quiet with yourself and your own gut and your own intuition. And I feel like I'm getting towards the end of that phase through this process of growth for me, and I'm getting close to the 5th phase. Which the 5th phase is the ultimate stage of alignment.
I heard you can fly at stage 5.
The ultimate stage of alignment, stage 5, discover the final stage where the alignment with one's true self and authenticity to the universe becomes a reality. We talk about embracing life's challenges and finding balance and harmony within the universe. So that there is everything you have learned, experienced within this spiritual awakening, this new pathway that you want to live. You start, instead of learning about it, you actually start living it.
Yeah.
And you start aligning with it and making the changes to which you can align to the person that you always wanted to be, which is, I think, I'm not saying I'm awakened and I've finished my journey, because I don't think I have, but I think my little chapter that I have had for the last 12 years, I think that has been a full growth. I've had the trigger that set me off at the start in my phase 1 was losing my housemate and having a question of what the fuck is life about. It can't just be about this and that. There's something more to it. So that was my trigger to start working. That has been, that's a 10-year journey to get to where I am now, where I'm only just starting to what I think get into that 5th phase of aligning to my highest self, to my highest path, and living that that lifestyle. And it's still not quite there. And I think you never. I don't think
you ever get there, right?
No. And I think that's part of the understanding. But having a healthy understanding that I am trying to live by what I preach and just the what do we call the air supply method we're talking about? Look after yourself first, so then you can look after others.
Yep.
I have this sort of gut feeling that my whole process was to get myself right so I could help others around me, whether that's my girlfriend, whether that's my daughter, whether that's my parents, whether that's listeners. But whatever way that is, I had to get myself right first, which is I had to put the fucking...
Yeah. Oh, wholeheartedly.
I had to put the oxygen mask on first to make sure I could help others. And I think I'm doing that.
Well, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be helping them right in the first place. So if you didn't solve all your shit, all that shit would just come out in how you raise Scotty. Or like how you raise your daughter. I don't know.
Exactly.
If you edited that out, but like,
no, it's fine. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like it would all come out, and then she would have a whole bunch of problems that would be based off the problems you had. Do you know what I mean? But at least now you're like, at least you're not going to damage her with anything that you were damaged with. You know what I mean? Like you needed to do this. You needed to go through this thing because you do have a kid and you have a world and you have this. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. It's very good. It's a very good thing, and it's only going to benefit her.
Yeah,
you've got how many of us could have benefited from my dad's breaking down who they were as a person and how they react to things and what the world actually means. Like about 90% of people's problems would evaporate if their parents had that kind of mindset.
And this is why I don't hold any grudges against the way I was raised.
No, because they were doing the best they did. They didn't
Exactly.
go. They were in stage 1 or 2. They never got to stage 4. So how could you be mad at them for not knowing stage 4's lessons if they never got through stage 3 to get to 4?
100%. So, and this is that's why, like, I think being authentic in how you're feeling at any time is probably the most powerful thing you can do, because authenticity is...
I don't know. Sometimes I feel very strongly in the moment and it shouldn't have.
Now, and this is... But the thing is, though, so yeah, it might not be right sometimes.
Like I messaged you at midnight because I watched, there was 3 people close to me who back to back just shared misinformation, stuff you could have Googled, and it made me so mad that one of them, I messaged them directly to be like, hey, you've got an issue. But my answer to that was I had all this emotion built up and I just sent you a message being like, we're not going to talk about this and this and this. Like this mental... That's not right. I shouldn't have felt that, or maybe I should have felt that emotion in the moment and been like, what is this from? I think it was stemmed from the fact that there's people I trust were just so willing to share misinformation. There's people I really respect and trust just couldn't be bothered Googling something before they decided to become idiots. So, and that really offended me. And it's like, have I put trust in the wrong people? And that's what I was so angry in that moment, but not about the issue, just about the fact that people I care about, I put trust in people that are dumb. And they're not dumb. I keep saying that people are dumb, but it's just that they're not thinking or they're ignorant, I guess.
But that is your authentic reaction. Now, whether or not it's the correct reaction or what's best or the best reaction for the situation, I don't know. But that's how you were feeling at the time, and that's a part of your growth. That's a part of your lesson. But the good thing that we're starting to see is that now we can actually measure. I think it's through frequency. You can measure, and you can see this. They have technology now where they can measure what someone's feeling and how the energy output is based on those sorts of feelings. So what anger emits, what sort of anger a person emits. This is why you can feel the vibrations of someone. The vibe, you get that feeling of tension and stuff because they are emitting a certain amount of energy, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the most powerful feeling that resonates at the highest vibration, I think it was, or the most powerful vibration, was not love. It was authenticity. So being that authentic person and your authentic self and real is what people connect to more than the actual truth. So this is, and we can see this in comedy.
Yeah, I've just literally started thinking about comedy.
And this is why we see it with comedy. If you are being authentic, whether it's true or not, the fact that you believe it's true,
because it's the authenticity that's
is what they connect with.
Because I need to go back into comedy. I need to go back and re-look at my things and stuff. I fell into the issue as I love jokes and I'm a good joke writer, but everyone has opinions, and I ended up starting having really opinionated like global warming and this and that, and it's been like I'm playing off the idea of silly. But I'm at my funniest when I'm just being silly. And I was talking to Dave Hughes about it the other day at a gig, and he was just about this. How I'm authentically silly is what he was saying. It's like that idea, and not to be like tooting my home, but it's that idea. It's like, it's not that what I'm saying is very funny and silly. It's that I'm being silly, and because I'm being authentic, it's funny in that moment. If a non-silly person was saying and doing what I was doing, it would read weird. So that's probably why when I'm giving opinions and stuff on stage, like anyone who knows me from this podcast would probably think I'm like this hell, like fucking always got opinions and cross that I care. I don't give a fuck about nothing ever. I don't care. You could be on fire in front of me and I'd be like, you look hot. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't have strong opinions, but like so why am I doing that with my comedy? Comedy to me should be distraction therapy. It should be like, you listen to it for half an hour and you laugh and you go home. Like, it shouldn't be like, I don't know. Well, that rant turned weird. But like being authentic of what you want to be putting out there. And if like you are, maybe you're a dark person. So authentically for you could get away with those dark things.
So if you're authentic in your belief and potentially, you have to have a bit of responsibility. So for example, like us, we got more of a platform now. I do have to be careful about what I say and do sometimes because it does have a reaction and it does have an influence on people around us. But
imagine if the Trump shooter listened to Hard Yarns.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And so but anything I say is genuine and it's authentic. I try to be as authentic as possible. I try not to think about how is this person going to think about, and it does come in sometimes and you can feel the difference. But when I'm being, I'm turned off again.
Let me go back to you.
when you're being that authentic self, I think, the true you starts to shine through, and people never hate the true person. They can say, that person needs a bit of education. That person needs to learn a bit more about this subject, but you're not going to hate that person. And the fact that we have a society now where people hate each other for the way that they think and identify or who they vote for, like that is a symptom of the divide and conquer tactics that have been used constantly.
It wholeheartedly works though. There was the thing with the Brittany Higgins stuff. We're now going anywhere into that case at all. All I could tell what you thought about other things based on what you thought about that case. And that's insane. I shouldn't be able to guess what your opinions are on American politics, on immigration, on transports. I shouldn't be able to guess what your opinion is on all that sort of stuff based on your opinion on a sexual assault case. I just shouldn't be able to do that. But you can see that's your side, this is this side. Your opinions are these ones, these opinions are those ones. And we all just, and everyone's getting, and so like as far as divide and conquer, it's clear as day. You can see it there.
Yeah.
Like the Western Derby is more united than people are most of the time. You know, like, and that's...
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Like, you shouldn't be able to. I don't know. Like, you just shouldn't be able to. We were at Delby's house one day and I overheard people talking about different things. And I was like, it's so crazy. You can guess exactly what someone's opinion is going to be on other topics based on their opinion on this.
I can tell it by where they drink their coffee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you go to Dome Cafe, I know what you're going to think about the world.
Really? I go to Dome Cafe.
Yeah, you think exactly like
I always thought it was called Doomy.
but like, yeah.
No, that's funny as fuck, though. That's a hell.
I feel like you can tell by where people stay in Bali what sort of person they are.
What is it? I say it in Chengdu. Do you know what that says about me? I go with Delby.
Chengdu. Chengdu is not
it.
what it used to be. Chengdu is now like where everyone goes because they think that's where cool people go. Whereas
there was a lot of cool people there.
Whereas about 10 years ago, it was literally the quiet place where the real cool people went. And now it's been taken by the fake.
A lot of Russians there, man.
Yeah.
I went there. There was so many Russians.
I feel like you're in Kuta. Generally, if you're a dad, you're probably going, cheers, cunt,
right.
a couple of times. I reckon if you're in Legion, you're probably just like, okay, I'm just here to chill and I just want a bit of nightlife, but I want to relax. I used to be that guy. Now I'm a dad. I'm a happy, or a mum. I'm a happy family man.
Wow.
But I want the option to be able to go to a bar or a pub. And then I feel like in Seminyak, you're old.
Right. Seminyak, you are old.
Yeah. Or Seminyak, or you're going to the beach clubs, whatever. But it is interesting how people like of similar mindsets and similar identities just seem to go to the same places. They seem to vote for the same things and do the same things.
They must be drawn though. Like, is it just a psychological? I had a therapist once. Yeah, that's right. I went to a therapist. Yeah,
that's fancy.
Or it was a homeless guy on the street. Just a person I had chats with. But she was saying that you subconsciously you attract people. You look for people. That's why you'll end up in the same type of situations or the same type of personalities, or you get hurt by the same people because you're looking for it subconsciously. So if you're doing that for relationships and interpersonal relationships, even on a base socio level, like social level, we must be doing that. We must be looking for like-minded people who also think and feel the same. Like I know you said that
as above, so below.
Yeah, but I know how you said with the thing like you lean a little bit right.
Yeah,
I know on paper, if you broke down all of my thoughts, and if I ran for politics, I would be a right-wing candidate. All of my thoughts, fiscally, all of my thoughts for everything is very right-wing.
Yeah,
I sit left just because of the people, essentially. I don't know. Is that also? I don't know. I don't know. That was a weird thing to say. It was more. I don't know why I said that. There was a point I was trying to make. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, because you get drawn to certain people and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just you just those type of like the people that I find on the right seem to be less open to certain things. It's more. This is just what I know. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You think of the people on the left and they're very like wacky and out. I don't know. Either way, I don't sit anywhere. I don't want to sit anywhere anymore. I don't have opinions.
It's like, what sort of conspiracy theorist are you? Are you I don't think we landed on the moon sort of conspiracy theorist, or are you? I think Michelle Obama's got a dick conspiracy.
Yeah,
theorist.
what type of conspiracy? Are you the fun conspiracy where you think that like, oh, maybe aliens made us monkeys so we can harbor gold for their spaceships, or do you think that the world's being feminized so then we can all be taken over and stuff? Because
because
the other one, like, I really just
yeah, well, diluting the real problems where like conspiracies, like government conspiracies, are a real thing and do need to be investigated. And sometimes, like, wow, you are benefiting people who give you money and weapons contractors.
Yeah, because clearly there was a.
But then you put the absurd ones out there, and it dilutes a real problem.
It completely dilates it, and it makes you look like a nutcase. But
Yeah.
you 100%.
But I think orchestrated. I think that's by design.
My design.
I don't think we need to do ghost stories today.
Do you want to come back another time and do it?
Yeah, let's do. Do you want to come back on next week?
Can I really?
Yeah, of course.
Should you let the
Delby.
listeners decide?
You can be.
They might hate this.
You can be Delby next week as well.
Really?
I think I got. I got Mr. X on next Tuesday.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe we can do some like on Thursday or something like
Yeah,
that.
we'll be Ghost Boys.
Ghost
Thank you
Boys.
for coming on. I need to maybe think, as long as what I'm saying is authentic, then I don't have, because I know I'm going to go into a paranoid shutdown in the next couple of days, thinking about everything I said and how now
No,
everyone
you were
hates
very
me.
good. Yeah.
But that's as long as I just stick to what I believe. But then sometimes I'm like, do I believe what you just said? Are people going to hate you based on something you don't even believe? That's what I. But also, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Realistically.
It's a comedy podcast.
Yeah, I should have said something funny.
Like no.
Oh,
yeah.
I got a funny one for you.
Go on.
Is this funny or am I just dumb? Oi, listen up. I used to think like it's right along what we're talking about with your idea of how you see the world.
Yes.
Because I used to think that my appliances were out to get me, and I'm changing that now. Because my washing machine's a fucking liar. He's always like 5 minutes to go, and then half an hour later he's still going, and it really irks me. But then I had this moment when I'm like, hey, your washing machine isn't out to get you. He isn't trying to trick you. Maybe he's just dumb. So now I think of my washing machine as like a housemate who's been hit in the head. And I'm like, how long left? I don't know, 5 minutes. And I'm like, all right, washing machine. I'll see you in an hour. He's like, okay, Cameron. I've started to like not think everything's out to get me. But it's true.
Yeah. So
that's my mindset now. Like, my appliances don't hate me. They're just dumb. They're just silly gooses.
I love it.
Thanks.
That's good. Do you have anything to plug until next week?
Until next, just loosey-goosey quizzes. Check it out. I run a quiz company. I'm going to start. We're running bingo. I did my first ever bingo last night at the venue. It was fun, man.
Did you learn the lingo for bingo?
Well, another thing with the lingo for bingo, I looked it up. All the lingo for bingo is modern terms and jokes from 60 years ago.
Oh.
So none of it matters anymore. Like legs 11 and dumb. So I'm making up my own one. So my number 11 is 11, half of the hit duo 9/11. That's my joke for 11.
Classic.
181 loosey goosey quizzes. Come check it out. Love you.
Classic. What do I have? Squealing Pig. We're going to I'll put tickets up for the next show on September 5th. Fucking great. Camera keeps going off. That's a sign to finish the episode. So thanks so much for all the listeners for sticking with us. Sorry about the 2-week delay, but we got plenty of shows coming up, plenty of episodes, and I think we've got a flat earther on Saturday.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
Do you want to come on for that?
Oh, you're back, and now you're gone.
No, it's you.
Oh, hey.
Do you want to come on to that?
Yeah.
Should
it? Wait, are you?
It's on Saturday at 10 a.m.
It's to listen, though. Hey, it's to listen to what he's got to say, and they've got opinions.
And then have a chat back and forth. He's doing
cool.
astrology and a few things.
I feel like you should have some information ready to go, though. Otherwise, he might steamroll you, and you'd be like, "Oh God, I'm a flat earther now."
I was thinking of getting a astrophysicist on.
Slay, yeah,
because that would be kind of cool. But
the one thing I don't understand with flat earthers is how come all the other planets are round? Like we can see the other.
I think they're real.
Oh, slay! Well played. Well played. I don't think those planets are real. Checkmate.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Thanks for having me. Love you. Bye.
Bye bye.